SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge is a fierce competition between some of the best sim racers in North America, all gunning for a chance to drive in a real SPEC MX-5 race car. To get this opportunity, you have to be nearly perfect across 9 rounds in 2021. Tonight is round 8, the penultimate round before we head to the season finale at Circuit of the Americas in 2 weeks. With so much on the line and so little time left, every race counts and every position worth fighting for. This is SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge from WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Kyle Heyer joined by Tom O'Gorman tonight for the 8th of 9 rounds this season. Tom this time from Monterey, California and Laguna Seca.
Kyle, it's good to be back. And speaking of nearly perfect, it has taken our championship leader, Nathan Saxon, 7 rounds to slip up. As we look at our championship points, the first of his dropped rounds would have been most recently the most recent round. Is this a chink in the armor, or is this maybe just a single-time slip-up for our championship leader?
I'd say a single-time slip-up based on what happened at Watkins, Glen. He was gunning for the race lead and then got caught up in a collision on the final lap. So all sorts of drama coming out of upstate New York and into the West Coast, California tonight here, Tom. 11 corners around Laguna Seca. It's changed significantly over the years. Here's a look at WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Take it through a lap.
Yeah, it has, and many people don't know this. This is the old layout. You see, it used to be kind of Lime Rock-like. You made a very fast couple of sweeps left hand up until the most classic layout that we've seen now, up towards the corkscrew. But at some point back in 1988 for MotoGP, it took a little bit of a change. They added an infield section. There it is. One straightaway removed and an infield section added for the Andretti hairpin, which is one of our best passing opportunities. Then a very flat turn 3, a very flat turn 4 before we add elevation back into turn 5. A banked sweep up the hill towards turn number 6. A massive climb blind over the crest into the braking zone for the corkscrew. One of the most iconic corners in all of motorsports as far as especially North America is concerned. Then a drop 180 feet down a hillside from turn 7, 8 through Rainy Curve at turn 9, a banked sweep through turn 10 into a heavy braking zone at turn 11, a over 90-degree corner onto the front straightaway to complete a lap of Laguna Seca.
It's a beautiful racetrack. It's one of the classic places that you think about every time you head to the United States of America for racing. Qualifying underway for our 8th round tonight, and familiar names atop the standings already, only a couple laps in the books. Nick Del Campo, the number 15, currently the quickest here in qualifying in the number 15 car here, Tom. We've got 2 races on tap for tonight, both 20 minutes long. But this racetrack has a lot of dirt and sand and narrow margins around here, Tom. If you step over that line, you're going to pay a big price.
And what's extra fun is here in iRacing, we have the old version of Laguna Seca. It's been widened substantially in a couple of key places in the real world. So if you went there in 2021, you'd have a bit of runoff in certain places. Here in Laguna Seca in iRacing, you don't have that luxury. So the margins for error are even smaller tonight in the SPEC MX-5 Challenge for iRacing. But Nick Del Campo sits 4th in the championship right now, has had a couple of slip-ups throughout the season, but pretty minimally here and there, and now sits provisionally on pole with one of the fastest times we've seen, even including practice. There at the top.
Nathan Saxon has had one of the best seasons in recent memory. Going back to the first couple rounds of the season, we had thought that it was going to be the most competitive, and it just turned out to be quite competitive. But Nathan Saxon, again, winning the majority of the races here this season, although last week with the crash at Watkins, Glen, has put himself maybe not at risk, but has shown a chink in the armor that, you know, this could all go away very quickly if you don't have a perfect night, and he didn't at the Glen.
Yeah, other than that round, the worst finish he's had the entire season is 5th, way back at, I think it was Summit Point, round 2 for the season. So this is his first 0, and that's his first dropped round as well. Now, what's key is we do have dropped rounds here, so it may not end up being that big of a factor. He's just got to make sure that that is his only dropped round.
Familiar name joining us here tonight, the 2020 season champion, Ken Halseal, is jumping in for tonight. Again, not a points competitor, just here for wins. Remember, the last time this happened was in the 2020 season. It was DJ Alessandrini that jumped in for a night, and he was a winner. So what is old is new again, and Ken Halseal jumping in tonight, running 3rd right now in qualifying, and will likely be a force to be reckoned with, and not gunning for points, so he'll probably stay out of the championship fight. But if he has an opportunity to win, he's not going to pull punches.
And what will be extra fun is, my understanding is he will start from the back in race number 1, race his way as far forward as he can, and then start there for race number 2. So Halseal, while he is there on this qualifying screen, having been provisionally 3rd place, he will start dead last, what will be likely 27th position here in qualifying for race number 1. And then we get to watch that black and red car pick his way through the field.
Here's Brandon Hawken, one of the newcomers of the series, running the white base livery. Again, the drivers with the white liveries are the ones that are new, that are rookies to the season. Brandon Hawken is new. He's out of Canada, and he's mighty, mighty fast in everything that we've seen him. Has won a handful of races and comes into the night second in the point standings ahead of Ryan Maloney. Brandon Hawken, I think, is my favorite to win the championship, Tom. Not because he's the most consistent, no, but he is really aggressive. I think more aggressive than Nathan Saxon, and that's going to pay dividends in our season finale in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah, I think this is the driver where you might say Nathan Saxon, our championship leader, has been the absolute pinnacle of raw pace for the season. Brandon Hawken has been the one willing to race for those positions that he maybe isn't fast enough to earn in qualifying, in a qualifying type session, but there's a reason they call this wheel-to-wheel racing. I mean, you got to race for it for the checkered flag, and he's taken risks where most other people have not been willing to, and he sits second in the points for that, only, 11 points back from Nathan Saxon, so he's still within a shot. And then we get back to Ryan Maloney, who's also been a pretty consistent, but also a very exciting driver to watch, third in the championship there in his vehicle.
Can't find. Oh, Ryan Maloney's down all the way down in 25th here in qualifying, so hasn't yet run a flying lap, and I bet that he will run that this time around as he climbs down the famous corkscrew over in turn number 7. Chris Henn, he just jumped up the board into 8th. We'll see where Maloney can line himself up. This is a driver that's been sort of just outside of the podium this season, Maloney, Tom, but he's put himself in a position to win the championship. Remember, the points get reset for COTA, so it's going to stack everything based on your finishing position in the regular season. It's going to tighten things up for that final race, so Ryan Maloney is very much in it. Across the line now, we'll see if he can improve. His best lap time of 1:48.0. There's a 1:44.5. Now he's gearing up for a flying lap this time through.
Something I'm watching happen right now that we haven't really seen much of the entire rest of the season is here, because we are in a simulator, you can reset your car in qualifying, get fresh tires, and go back out there and try it again. And look at how many drivers are pitting back out in the middle of this session. And throughout the entire session, I've basically watched the drivers do one single flying lap and reset. Nathan Saxon all the way down to the bottom 20 drivers. So something that Laguna Seca is known for in the real world and is simulated here in iRacing is it's an exceptionally low grip circuit. There's just a lot of sand, grit, and polish across the surface of this racetrack, and I think this weekend, this weeknight specifically at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca, these drivers are trying really hard at qualifying to get good tires, but also are going to have to manage that a bit here in the races.
You get 20-minute long races, so you don't really have to worry too much about tire wear, but tire temperature can spike even if you just slide for a moment. So that's something that drivers will have to keep in mind as we work our way towards the end of the qualifying session and into the race. How important is qualifying going to be tonight? I would argue probably more important this week than it was 2 weeks ago at Watkins Glen. There, it's a bit more of a super speedway style thing where you can slipstream by and pass people. Tonight, I think you got to start up front to be up front.
Yeah, I totally agree. If not start up front, you got to be super strategic on picking off drivers one by one. We've seen certain drivers have strengths in that, but also just the risks reward at Laguna Seca is very low, meaning you take big risks and they don't always pay off. So I think you got to be pretty far up the field to make this work. Look at Nathan Saxon stuff it, trying to finish his flying lap, actually puts it in the concrete coming off of turn 11. That's an uncharacteristic mistake.
Ryan Maloney goes quicker, a 1:39.1 puts him 13th place. Take a moment to thank one of our sponsors of the series, Brian Sohn from Penguin RC Simulation. They make sim racing products that you can check out on their website, but they also do season payouts for the drivers here in the series for the regular season, so not counting next week's round at COTA. The regular season payout, first place, the champion, $200 in credit towards products and services offered by Penguin RC Simulation. Second place gets $150, third place $100, fourth $75, and so on and so forth down to 6th place. There's also the Most Improved Rookie Award. The driver who has showed the most improvement throughout the season, a $75 credit towards products and services offered by Penguin RC Simulation. And a championship event payout, of course, the big prizes offered by SPEC MX-5 Winding Road and Level Up Racing School. The chance to drive one of these cars in the real world, Tom, to kickstart your real racing career. Some of these drivers have some racing experience. Most of them have only ever driven a race car in the simulator.
And if you're joining us for the first time, you're kind of wondering where the liveries come from. They're all base design, but the black bases are the most experienced drivers in the field. The white bases are a new driver to the series, and those kind of faint gray, 50% gray bases are drivers that have raced before but maybe have not had the most success, either didn't race consistently or finished in the bottom half of the championship points. So this is a driver that's very interesting. The number 40 of Ismael Basso, he was 4th quickest in practice tonight and has had flashes of brilliance throughout the season, but has had a bit of a struggle with consistency, which perhaps is why he has that great livery, but could certainly be an upsetting force tonight here as if he gets a little further up the field in qualifying.
This track, in my experience here in iRacing, has been one of those places that if you're good at it, you're really good at it. It doesn't seem like a place where you can go and do okay there. It's either you're really good or you hate going there. And for a guy like Ismael Basso, this might be one of the tracks that he's circled on the schedule. Maybe not places like Watkins, Glen, Road America, where your results aren't necessarily always your own. Sometimes you get some help there. Here at Laguna Seca, I think you got to you control your own destiny here, maybe a bit more than some of the other tracks we go to.
Yeah, you do, and it has an interesting variety of corners. As we mentioned, it changed layouts back in 1988 for MotoGP to make it safe for motorcycles to race on, and part of that was adding a couple of really flat, kind of slow corners there in the infield. You have the Andretti hairpin, which is very flat, very slow. Then you have turns 3 and 4, which are both kind of very basic, straightforward 90-degree right-hand corners before you get back onto the interesting, in my opinion, part of the circuit where you have a lot of elevation, a lot of terrain to help you go fast, and it really introduces a lot of flow. So you do have a little bit of a split personality here at Laguna Seca that maybe not a lot of people realize, but once you drive it, you realize, yeah, that is how it is.
One thing to note here before we head into the event tonight, in the past, this green turf area you see way at the top of your screen, this used to be off limits in iRacing. You couldn't drive on it. Gave you an incident point. Not anymore. That's fair game. You can drive on it all free and clear, and drivers will be able to utilize all the racetrack there at the exit, all the paved stuff out there in turn number 11. About a minute left here in qualifying. Nick Del Campo still the quickest. Saxon Houseel and Luke Pfeiffer jumping up inside the top 5 again. One of the winners from Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta a few weeks ago. Good to see him running back towards the front, and didn't have a great round at Watkins Glen, looking for a bit of a rebound.
Yeah, and he's actually not been here for a number of races, but when he's here, he's been very fast. He sits 11th in the points, but he's currently missed 3 whole rounds coming into tonight. He missed rounds 2, 3, and 4. Other than that, I mean, his points are really strong. So this is another kind of upset driver that I think will be a lot of fun to watch. But when I look at the championship points, it kind of comes down to the top 4 for me. We have Nathan Saxon, Brandon Hawken, Ryan Maloney, and Nick Del Campo. And of those 4, 2 are in the top 4 right now, top 5 even, of this current qualifying session, but then you have a pretty wide gap, about 30 points back to Christopher Henn. So I think it is kind of a top 4 show right now between those 4 names.
Yeah, and again, remember that the points get reset for COTA based on your finishing position here in the overall regular season. We're going to reset them. Basically, you get a certain number of points for winning the regular season championship, but that doesn't pay out the big prize, Tom. All this is designed to do is close things up for that final race. You get to keep your position, but you're going to have to really fight for it at COTA. And we did see things flip around last season in the season finale, and we had Paul Darling almost steal it all. Of course, the troubled season this time around didn't have the luck and the results that he had last time around.
Well, COTA's a fascinating racetrack, so what a cool place to reset everything and as you call it, re-rack and restack them and send them out onto a giant slab of pavement out in Austin, Texas.
Well, qualifying almost complete here. Not a lot of shuffling happening at the top of the board. We'll take this moment to thank another one of the partners here. You see him at the top of the screen, the SCDA, the Sportscar Driving Association. Founded in 1995, the SCDA provides the driving enthusiasts the opportunity to experience high-performance driving in a safe and controlled environment. SCDA events are non-competitive and driver educational with a focus on safety and fun. The SCDA welcomes everyone from novices with no track experience and seasoned track drivers and racers. You can explore their website at www.scda1.com to learn more about them and their events at some of the best tracks on the East Coast. Time to head down to the racetrack here. Tom Gridding. We're going to run through our starting lineup. We'll start first with row number 1. That, of course, is going to be Nick Del Campo and Nathan Saxon.
Then it's Ken Houseel, who will be moving to the back of the field, so we're going to have to offset everything. Luke Pfeiffer should start 3rd, with Brandon Hawkins starting 4th.
We'll move on back to row number 3. It's going to be, we'll write down as they were gridded. Brandon Hawkett in 5th, Steve Fakachi in 6th, Chris Henn and Riley Thompson sharing row number 4.
Then it's Chris Taylor. He's been a factor this season a number of times. Jack Sanchez will start 10th. Ismael Basso in 11th. Jordan Bachmeyer 12th in the 31.
In row number 7, Mitchell Peak in the 56, and Matthew Cridlin starts 14th in the 73.
Then it's Ryan Maloney, championship factor way down in the field. Watch him to charge forward there in 15th alongside Thomas Bresci in 16th.
Gustavo Porgato starts 17th in the number 11. Carter Kundinger starts 18th in the number 92.
Mark Polunin and Greg Profeta will make up the 10th row of the field.
Row number 11, George Fike in the 09, and Renault Roland Hubert starts in 22nd.
And it's Elijah Clough in the number 17 alongside Max Bauman in the 89 to make up row number 12.
Row 13, Brian Sohn of the Penguin RC Simulation 03. Brian Chabelski starts 26th.
Alex Jensen in the 45 will start 27th alongside Scott McIntyre in the 01, 28th.
And Scott Angelo will bring up the rest of the field in 29th position as we get ready to go racing here tonight. Have a look at our keys to the race here, Tom, the first of which, crunch time, only 2 rounds remaining, this being the 8th of 9.
Yeah, a lot of these drivers have used up their free life, if you want to consider it that. You have a couple of drop rounds to work with before going into that reset race for the final round. This is your last one to work with, and again, most drivers have used it at this point, so you got to be consistent at this point in the championship.
And consistency is key, not only in the championship, but on the racetrack. Narrow margins tonight. One step over the line could end your race. There's not a lot of pavement runoff here, Tom, so if you drop a tire off, you're going to hit something pretty hard.
Yeah, and it's straight to the dirt, actually the California sand before you hit that wall. But then finally, 180 feet from the top of the corkscrew to the bottom of the front straightaway. There are plenty of passing opportunities to work somebody over from the top of that crest you see right there through Rainy Curve into turn 10 and into the braking zone for turn 11. I think that's where our race winner will be determined.
Field rolling off now for the 2.238 mile pace lap. And Nick Del Campo out in front. See the Ken Hal Seal machine 94 car dropping to the rear of the field. And this is a familiar sight for you, Tom. Starting from the rear of the field this past weekend at NC Motorsports Park, going from the back to the front, you ended up winning race number 4 of the weekend.
I did, but I didn't get there quite as gracefully as Ken Halseal is now. I had to break my car a couple times to make it there, but
no serpentine belts falling off of this car.
No. He won't have to deal with that. He might have to deal with some mechanical failures. If you grab a downshift too quick in these 6-speed MX-5s, you can certainly blow that motor, but Ken Halseal will be a lot of fun to watch in that number 94 car from the back.
Certainly will be. Have a look at our weather information here in Monterey, California. Air temp only 69 degrees Fahrenheit. Track temp is 80. Tom, that's pretty cool for California here in the beginning of the summer. So is the track temp going to be an issue, and how tricky will the tires get if you slip and slide too much?
It is pretty cool, and I don't know that the track temp will deal with will make a problem so much as just the raw grip available here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. As we mentioned in qualifying, a lot of drivers resetting as many times as they can to get fresh tires as many times as they could there in qualifying. You don't have that option in the race. You got to keep running, so you got to take care of your equipment.
Here's the run up to the corkscrew, kind of a blind crest on entry here, Tom. We see a lot of issues once the race kicks off, people out braking themselves into this corner. How tricky is this to get right? I mean, you've driven here in the real world, you've raced here, and you've been successful here. Is this the key to the racetrack, or is it the sector following this corner that's the most important?
It is the run down, and I think the corkscrew gets a big reputation for being cool because it is such a unique element to a racetrack, but it drives a bit like a hairpin where you just kind of get through it as best you can. What's tricky, though, is at that crest, it is not only a braking zone, but it kinks to the right, so you have to make sure when you're alongside somebody that you give each other enough space to make it work there into the corkscrew.
Nick Del Campo and Nathan Saxon sharing the front row, both championship competitors. We've got 1 round remaining in 2 weeks for the SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge. This is the penultimate round of the season. 2 races tonight, both 20 minutes long. As we head to the green flag, now it waves. Green flag flies. We're racing in round 8 of the 2021 SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge. Del Campo and Saxon across the line. Luke Pfeiffer already bringing up the fight. He's to second place as they head down towards the Andretti hairpin.
Yeah, the inside line got a killer launch there with Del Campo. Takes Pfeiffer with him, and it looks like, is Brandon Hawken going to go through as well? Saxon all the way back to 4th. Look at that little run. He might be able to maintain the point. No, Hawken closes the door, and now we're single file across the top 10.
A lot of shuffling here, the mid-pack already, but Brandon Hawken, that 99 car, moving forward into 3rd place and looking very racy. His qualifying in the past hasn't been super good. He's usually been clawing his way through the field, at least in the bottom half of the top 10. Tonight, though, already starting on a high note, has a look here at Pfeiffer, but going to stay in line. Not really a rush just yet. 12 laps in this race. Clean start for everybody else. Cars popping a line. There's the 31 car. That's Jordan Bachmeyer having a look at Jack Sanchez in the 23. Through turn 6, all single file through their top. Whoa, Pfeiffer off track just a touch.
That's those narrow margins we were talking about. He's going to get freight train Hawken all the way up to second. Saxon's going to try to go with him. There's that kink to the right at the crest in the braking zone. Saxon in really deep, shuts it down, but is still side by side with Pfeiffer. Pinches him to the inside, but clears it.
That was really dicey there, and he had a lot of trust in Pfeiffer not to turn the 16 off the nose, so that was really, really impressive in tight racing there. But in the background, wow, 31 car went way wide. There's a touch, and there's a car spinning. It's Ryan Maloney.
Oh, that's a disaster, and he spins across the nose of a couple other cars, takes up contact with one of them. That 29 car is going to continue Greg Profeta, who's one of our hard chargers of the season. Very well improved for the year so far, but unfortunately picks up some damage on that one.
Yeah, that was not the right direction for the 65 car to spin, Ryan Maloney. And let's go back and see how this all began. And I think this was all coming out of turn number 10. Just runs wide up onto the curb there. Tommy gets in the dirt.
Man, a couple of cars picked up that dirt in that first lap. And you see he did his best to lock the brakes down, didn't straighten up the wheel as well as he maybe could have, and spun back and crossed the wheel, the nose of the rest of the track, the rest of the field. So unfortunately, he's going to hit pit lane. Is the biggest hit from that entire season. Maybe this is a 3-horse race at the front of the championship now.
Yeah, Del Campo, Hawken, and Saxon 1, 2, 3. Luke Pfeiffer 4th, and Steve Ficacci running a very solid 5th place. We've talked about Steve in weeks past. Steve's always just there, and he's always lingering and lurking in the bottom half of that top 10. Tonight, though, already in the top half of it here on lap number 2.
And speaking of just there, 6th place is Chris Henn, the number 33, the postman himself. It's a top 6 breakaway, and this is a driver that's not afraid to shake things up just a little bit as Ficacci runs wide. Maybe Henn's got a little bit of a look at it. Look at a 3 wide almost in the background.
That's Riley Thompson in the gray car, then Chris Taylor in the 53, and here comes the 31 of Bachmeyer. Heard contact up ahead. I think it was nose to tail. Everyone stays straight as we cycle through the corkscrew for time number 2.
Yeah, Steve Ficacci was really sideways coming into the corkscrew, so I think he might have got a little bit of help. I'm not sure if it's from ahead or from behind. Looking for whether or not there's damage. It is from behind. Chris Henn sent it in there big time. Turned him sideways and throws him again. A big brake check as thinks Ficacci was trying to hit the pit lane. And Henn goes into the back of him again.
That was certainly strange. Let's have another look at that. I wonder if he had lifted, if that was out of anger, or if that was he was actually trying to hit the pit lane. You wouldn't really slam on the brakes there if you were hitting pit road there, Tom. It kind of peels off to the left. Right there, he just sort of parks it.
Yeah, you're right. That was pretty early for pit lane. I hate to assume maliciousness, but that was
didn't work out very
an odd spot. No, it certainly didn't hurt Henn as much as it did Ficacci, who's down to 19th. And speaking of back behind, look at Ken Hausiel, who's the black and red car behind, trying the outside. He's taken his time. Very generous of him, as considering he's not in the championship, but coming from 28th on the grid up to 21st so far for last season's championship winner.
Moving forward, has a look at Hubert on the outside into turn 3. Nice crossover move there. That's a textbook maneuver. Gets to the inside for turn number 4. Very flat corners here as well. Turns 3 and 4, Tom. A lot of tire scrub to get anything to grip down there. Not a lot of camber in the corners.
Yeah, you got to rely on almost the weight transfer of the corner to get you of the car to get you into the corner. Way back up here at the front, the thing's single file. Looks like Chris Taylor maybe dropping back a bit, had an off through turn 5, and allows Ismael Basso to pick up 8th position.
Up front, Brandon Hawken has gotten through to the lead, so Nick Del Campo settles for second for now. But the 99 car strong to the front. Nathan Saxon in third, and I know that they had sort of worked out their differences after the collision at Watkins Glen, but is that in the back of your mind, the fact that Nick Del Campo got into Nathan Saxon and caused that big crash at Watkins Glen? Is that still lingering back there?
I don't know that it would be lingering there from a maliciousness or payback kind of perspective, but it certainly is there from a can I trust this driver perspective, and I think that once you've kind of crossed that line once, it's always there for you as your competitor. Whoa, whether or not they trust you or not. Ooh, big slide from Chris Taylor again.
Was that Basso? I think it was Basso that slipped at the exit of turn number 11. There's a look. He just had a big moment. Again, this all fair game. He was on corner exit right here. He got onto the sand. Whoa. That's a moment.
And it was Taylor popping all the way to the inside wall to make sure he cleared it. But back towards the front, Brandon Hawken from 5th place with that left side lane taking a massive jump on the green flag to charge up through. He has, as we mentioned early, not been afraid to race through this one and leads the way over Nick Del Campo. Nathan Saxon has slotted into third. looks like kind of a 4-car breakaway with Luke Pfeiffer clinging on.
Remember how Hawkins' season started? He ran well in race 1 at Road America, but then race 2 at Road America ended up getting essentially sent to the back of the field after a collision with Paul Darling on the final lap from Hawkins' offense. Put him back. So that was a big points deficit right at the beginning of the season, but he's rebounded amazingly, and it hasn't had a similar misstep since. That was the new guy moment. He's since really earned a lot of respect up here, racing door-to-door every single round.
Yeah, and if you look at the championship points, the race that Brandon Hawken dropped was round number 1. The race that Nathan Saxon dropped was the most recent round at Watkins Glen. So it's kind of a tale of 2 championships there between the 2 drivers and the path they've taken through this one. But it looks like the top 2, Hawken and Del Campo, really have the second half of this track figured out. They pulled a couple of car widths out, which is pretty significant at Laguna Seca.
And the chance that they get run back down is probably going to be slim if they continue to work together. But I know that Pfeiffer and Saxon are trying hard not to let those 2 get away. Riley Thompson up to 7th. This is a driver that came into the season after having started late last year and now has put himself in position to get himself a top 10 or top 5. This has been a tricky year for him. I thought he'd run a little bit better. Riley Thompson really is a true talent. He's really young, but I think we'll see him back, and I think we'll see him be even more competitive as we move into the
And just in front of them, Luke Pfeiffer pulls ahead of Nathan Saxon, picks up 3rd position with a dive down to the Andretti hairpin. Saxon racing behind him, tries to maybe respond, rattle him a bit into turn 3, but it doesn't work. So all of a sudden our championship leader finds himself shuffled back all the way to 4th from 2nd on the grid.
Almost like Hawken and Saxon had basically swapped starting positions, and that's a concerning trend here as we head into the last 2 rounds of the season. I don't think Saxon's going to get any more, I don't want to say mulligans because he's run so well, but this is not the time to start letting your results start to lapse. I think you got to be on top of your game here, especially heading into the round where everything matters at COTA.
I agree. I think it's highly unlikely that either of these drivers have a dropped round this round. They both are basically sitting on a, you drop one entire, basically not score points an entire race. Whoa, Pfeiffer, maybe a cut penalty. Yep. He drops way back.
Cut penalty for Pfeiffer. I think he cut turn number 5 and will have to give up a spot. That puts Saxon back into 3rd. And now Chris Henn moves through as well into 4th place. See the damage on the nose of his car from the tailpipes of Steve Ficacci's car. There's Thompson and Jordan Bachmeier side by side through turn number 10. Whoop, big slide there for the 58. He pulls it back on course.
But he's got the preferred line down into turn number 10. The 31 chucks it around the outside. Bachmeier keeps the momentum, and now they're going to go side by side down into turn number 11. This is really good stuff between these 2 drivers. Riley Thompson tries the over-under, kind of gets there just a little bit, but Bachmeier did a good job of putting the car in the wrong spot for Riley Thompson. It's a drag race.
Drag race at over 100 miles an hour down towards the Andretti hairpin. At the front, still Hawken and Del Campo 1 and 2, but Thompson and Bachmeier door-to-door into turn number 1. The 31's going to cut down and pinch the 58, but plenty of racing room left, and Chris Taylor smelling blood in the water here in 8th. Oh, big slide there by Riley Thompson. Couldn't get the car to rotate there, and here comes the 53 trying to get overlap here for turn 4. He's going to stay in line though for now. Good strategy call there, I think.
It's interesting riding on board these cars. You hear how just between the gears they are. This is between 3rd and 4th gear essentially through the infield section here. You're going to hear them kind of bog through 4th gear here. Just nothing as they try to get on power up through turn 5. And a lot of the rotation that these cars give you on corner entry is with the downshift. So in a corner like that, it's really easy to just not get the car rotated in. Whoa, Chris Taylor with big rotation up into turn 6. Everybody dragging dirt onto the track through the exit of that corner, and this is turning into a pretty big 5-car scrap.
Bachmeier, and whoa, big dive by Ismael Basso. I think he outbraked himself just a little bit. These cars do have ABS, Tom, and I think there's definitely been some instances this season of panic braking sideways behind. That's Mark Palunen's 38 car. But with ABS, Tom, if you get in too deep, you just feel sort of helpless as you push that pedal to the floor and nothing happens.
Yeah, the car's not locking the tires up, but it still is not going to turn. And a lot of the drivers have also given us the feedback that, especially in later stages of this race, when the tires start to deteriorate, the ABS really gets finicky. So Luke Pfeiffer, all of a sudden, I'm not sure if he got maybe a drive-through penalty. I'm going to scroll back through race control, but he dropped with a couple of spots on the track and has now found himself on pit lane.
Not going the right direction for him. Here's Chris Taylor on the outside of Riley Thompson trying to grab this spot away. So Thompson going the wrong direction, maybe treating those tires a little bit too aggressively, but not quite the overlap required to keep position. So Thompson will keep the spot for now, P6. Checking back in on Ken Alseal, the number 94. He's driven through half the field up to 15th place now and running lap times competitive for the top 5.
Well, if he goes from 30th to 15th in this race, what can he do in race number 2, where he will start where he finished currently? Look at the gap all the way up to Gustavo Bergado. I don't know that he's going to quite get there, but with 6 laps to go, anything's possible. Things are getting very racy up in the bottom half of the top 10, though. Look at them scuffling through turn number 5 as Riley Thompson has Chris Taylor, Ismael Basso, and Jack Sanchez all stacked behind him.
Yeah, and Thompson maybe being a bit of the cork in the bottle here through turn number 6. Taylor, Basso, and now Jack Sanchez. A good run for him as Basso runs off the racetrack. Hard to pull back on. Whoa!
Front.
That's Bachmeier off to the side. Saves it, keeps it straight somehow, as it's not going to be a mad scramble into the corkscrew to grab that position. And I bet you this, ooh, Basso, that was a big cut there.
Oh, it's going to be 3 wide. This is super tight up the inside for Jack Sanchez. Goes all of a sudden up at the inside of Jordan Bachmeier. Can't quite make it work, but man, that was tight.
That was really, really sketchy. And the big loser in all that, I think, was Ismael Basso. He dropped a couple spots and all that. Here comes Carter Kundinger, the 92, and Thomas Bressi is in the top 10 now with all that shuffle.
Well, with that shuffle, I think actually Ismael Basso was pushed off the inside of the corkscrew and got a cut penalty. So you see him dropping back well down the field into 11th position. He was trying to get out of the way, make sure he didn't hold anybody up. Meanwhile, the top 4 have continued to run very close nose to tail. Chris Henn, I think, is the big winner of this entire race. Look at him still clinging onto the top 4. He's within shot of a podium here.
And he's in position. 5 laps to go roughly as we come out of turn 2. Here's Jack Sanchez on Bachmeier. Door gets closed on the entry to turn 4. Or 3 rather. Big slide there. 31's off course. Oh, that's a bubble. That's the second time in 2 laps that he's had a big scramble.
What a bit of a bump draft. Jack Sanchez tried to do it again on the way into turn 4. But they're kind of pairing off now as Chris Taylor and and Riley Thompson have escaped these 2, sweeping their way, bogging up the hill back 4 or 5 laps to go.
Wow, it's one car way off course there. That is Thomas Bressi. And that curb runs out real fast because it always seems like the car wants to take you about a car width wider than there is curbing to save you. Same thing here at the exit at turn 6, but Bressi keeps it on course that time.
Both of those places are where in real life now, if you were to go to Laguna Seca tomorrow, you'd have runoff room there. But here in iRacing, you don't have it just yet. Oh, a big lunge up the inside. Chris Taylor trying to pick up a spot. Is that Jack Sanchez actually trying to pick up a spot from Jordan Bachmeier, but Bachmeier still kind of reeling from his mistake.
And for the race lead, here comes Nick Del Campo on the inside to try to go back by Brandon Hawken, and he gets it done. Hawken runs wide. Here comes Saxon with an opportunistic move. Is he going to go anywhere place? Didn't get through the gears quick enough. Now they trade spots up front. Saxon's still stuck in 3rd. So front 4 are in their own little bubble here, though, Tom. They can afford to be aggressive now. Look at the move to the inside by the 16. He tried to make that work, but Hawken denied it to him, and Hawken's going to go down the inside for the race lead.
They nearly made it 3 wide there, but Hawken has the outside lane now for turn number 3. Can Nick Del Campo keep it there? He does. Now he has the preferred line. Will easily sweep back across the nose.
And Hawken going to try to do the over-under, but not enough momentum here to do anything about it. Del Campo goes defensive for a moment, gets back on line. Ooh, I think Hawken missed the turn-in just by an inch because Saxon was already there.
He didn't have a choice to hit the turn-in. He had to leave room, and now they're going to scrap for 3 wide. Chris Henn at the inside now is not afraid to make a big move and will pick up the spot easily from Nathan Saxon. Saxon's smart to back out of this one. He's the championship leader and does not want to throw that away.
That was almost a big incident there as Henn chucked it down into turn 5, but that let Del Campo get away by about a half a second. If he was clear by about 8, 9 tenths, he might be able to have a chance to run away, but I think Hawken should be able to reel this back in here. Run out of laps, so next time by should be 3 laps to go. Still in their own little bubble racing up front. You're not probably going to drop back further than 4th, provided that you don't crash. So I think there might be a little bit of incentive here to race a bit more aggressively than you otherwise would see.
Oh, look at how on the limit Nick Del Campo is. Big rotation off of turn number 9 from the rear of that MX-5, driving it all the way to turn number 10, dips the tires off. He's trying to break away from Brandon Hawken with every ounce of his being, but it's not going to work. Down this front straightaway, the draft is going to bring the 99 back into it.
Nick Del Campo is hitting the turbo boost at the right time in the championship. Again, his finishes lately have been improving, and he's been a little bit more consistent as time has gone on, but across the line this time, 3 laps to go, 4 minutes and 52 seconds. Del Campo leads at the line.
It's essentially 11 points from Saxon to Hawken and 11 more points from Hawken to Del Campo as far as the championship is concerned. Interestingly enough, they run in that inverted order here on the racetrack right now. Look at the damage on the front end of Chris Henn's car. little bit of straight line speed probably compromised there for the 33, but every bit of that is made up for and more with the draft that he's got.
I find it interesting how much less ragged Brandon Hawkins gets when he knows he has to chase somebody down, how smooth his inputs get, try to be absolutely perfect. When you're racing side by side, you're sawing at that wheel, you're making it you're trying to get everything to stick, but how much smoother the inputs are now, that's where the speed comes. He's going to reel Del Campo back in. Chris Henn, I'm surprised that he is running as well as he is with the damage that he has. It is sort of significant. These cars will take a beating before they actually show damage that bad. And again, it doesn't seem to be hurting him all that much, at least when he's in the draft. Through the corkscrew again, right there, nose to tail.
He was in deep too. He's trying everything he can, and I think maybe the difference between the damage that he's got and the pace he has is being made up for how far he's pushing that car right now. But he's in an amazing spot to start race number 2, and if I'm Chris Henn, I honestly would kind of take the L in this race to go for the W in the second race, because he's got a lot to make up in the championship, but if he's in position to win race number 2, that's set up for success.
2 laps to go here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca for the SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge, the first of 2 races tonight. Again, we're going to have our second race just after this. There's trouble in turn 11. That's Ismael Basso. Big damage on this number 40. And I wonder if he slipped on corner entry, got off to driver's right, and got hit again by the 92 of Carter Kundinger. Then he got a bit of a boot from Matthew Cridland in the 73.
An insult to injury there, as he's already made his own mistake and unfortunately collects a couple of other drivers. He had some damage before this incident, which we've already seen in the stream.
Yep, and again, just got the tires off over the edge of the curbing, Tom, and as soon as you do that, the car is just going to loop itself around. You see the 92 and then the 73 right here, right into the quarter panel. Bam! And Ismael Basso's night is over, at least in race number 1.
Well, that promotes Ken Halseal up to 13th. That's last year's championship winner, who we're keeping slight tabs on throughout the night, but this top 4 battle has not gone anywhere. 2 laps to go, 1.5 at this point. Nick Del Campo still leads the way over Brandon Hawkins. Chris Henn has dropped off the back just a little bit. Maybe Nathan Saxon can pick off Chris Henn before the end of this lap.
Maybe setting up for a run to the checkers. Carter Kundinger, wow, impact. Is this down in turn 1? Where is this on the racetrack? Oh, this is up in turn number 5. He was side by side with the 38 car. Oh, yeah, he just got hip checked.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, good thing there's tire bundles are there. That even hurts in the sim world, huh?
Nothing he could have done, and unfortunately, I think that driver was up in the top 6 at one point. You know, we'll drop all the way back to 23rd, maybe even further back.
White flag in the air. I'm so glad they finally fixed this animation. This didn't work for the longest time. White flag in the air one more time around WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca.
Nick Del Campo, Brandon Hawkins have kind of broken away from the other 2. They have a bit of a breather before they get under attack. Chris Henn, way too deep, is going to run way wide of the Andretti hairpin. Maybe Nathan Saxon can get a run, not quite coming into turn 3, but the top 2 have a bit of a breathing room before they get under attack from the 3rd and 4th place cars. This is going to be fun for the top 2.
Yeah, Chris Henn, I think, sacrificed both his own race and Nathan Saxon's race. They're too far back to do much with it unless these 2 tangle. Half a lap remaining here, and Hawkins' opportunity, Tom, does it come at the corkscrew or after it?
It comes after it. Remember our final key to the race, 180 feet from the top of the corkscrew to the bottom at turn 11, and I really think all you have to do if you're Brandon Hawkins is set yourself up to attack on the brakes for turn 11. He's already starting to rattle Nick Del Campo. You see him pop out there for turn number 6, chuck it in, grab a little bit of that apex, and then make sure that you have a run through turn number 10. This is crunch time.
On the run up the hill now towards the corkscrew. Brandon Hawkins following Nick Del Campo as we head into the corkscrew now down the hill. Coming back to the checkers. Mitchell Peak has jumped to the top of the scoring. No, don't mind that. Bit of a bobble there by Del Campo. Peak just reset the car. That's why he's appeared at the top here. Now the run back to the checkers here, Tom. Hawkins second, Del Campo first. One more corner to get it done. I don't think Hawkins close enough.
He's not quite there. No, it was Del Campo that had, it looked like a bit of a bobble coming out of the corkscrew, but it actually set him up perfectly through Rainy Curve. Got a run through turn of 10. And all of a sudden, even though he's in the dirt, we'll take the checkered flag for race number 1 here at Laguna Seca.
Wow, strong run by Nick Del Campo. Hawkins second, Henn Saxon 3rd and 4th. Across the line, how about Riley Thompson sneaking a top 5 in a drag race to the checkers? Taylor and Bachmeyer 6th and 7th, Jack Sanchez in 8th, and Thomas Bresci in 9th. 10th place, Mark Palunin, and Ken Halseal giving him a push across the line. He comes home in 11th. But what a scrap there at the front. But we learned something there, Tom, that passing on that last lap is not an easy task. I think Dcunha had the right idea to be out front. I think you want to be leader, maybe, here in at Laguna Seca.
Oh, I mean, you're totally right. If you're Dcunha, he seems to have figured something out from the top of the corkscrew to the bottom of turn 11. And I don't know, if he's not in first place, maybe he's the one that's able to make something work. And I'm super excited also to see maybe if Ken Halcyon starts up there towards the top 10, maybe he can come upset this little group a bit.
Having a look there at your race results, top of the screen, there is the run down the order. We're going to have a short break here before our second race. A lot of carnage in that one. We had a lot of incidents, especially with our drivers in the top half of the field. Do you think it's going to get better or worse from here on out? This second race, people tend to be more aggressive.
They do tend to be more aggressive, but I think hopefully they've learned a thing or two. Unfortunately, one of our top 4 championship contenders that we mentioned has left the room for the night. Ryan Maloney is out. So this will become his dropped round, which makes this kind of a 3-horse race between Nathan Saxon, Brandon Hawken, and Nick Dcunha there in the top 3.
So warm up now for about 3 minutes and 45 seconds worth of time, and I don't see anybody actually out on the racetrack just yet. There's Mark Palunin now jumping out for a little bit of extra practice. Race 1 is complete though, still have another race to do, so don't go anywhere. We are not done yet. Weather information is going to be the same for our second race here, Tom. But looking at the points, heading into COTA, a more technical track than a lot of the tracks that we head to, but also has some drafting there. Looking at the results so far this season and the different driver characteristics that we've seen, I think the championship's between Saxon and Brandon Hawken. Of those two, which one is a more promising prospect for COTA?
It's so hard to call because COTA does reward raw speed. It's a long track, 20 corners. A lot of them are completely unique to the next or the previous one. And I think tracks like that have rewarded Nathan Saxon, who has either put in the time or has the raw ability to extract speed from a car. At the same time, COTA has so many unique opportunities to race, and Brandon Hawkins seems to be able to excel in the just straight up wheel-to-wheel racing for this season. And it's kind of cool, honestly. I feel like we've come down to 2 very different drivers at the top of this championship with 2 different skill sets, at least when you compare them to each other. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch at COTA.
Sure is, and one of the racetracks that I didn't really appreciate until I had been there myself, and I've been there twice now, and it is one of my favorite racetracks to go to just because it really is a well-racing racetrack. When you look at it, the first sector all the way through the S's is really where the fun stuff is, but the back side of the course, that really tedious section to drive, that's where all the racing happens, and it races very, very well in almost any speed of race car. All the way from Formula 1 down to touring cars, down to grassroots racing, motorsports series, including series like SPEC MX-5. It's a great racetrack and races well here at the Sim as well. So while drivers are warming up here, Tom, race 2, Brandon Hawken in a similar situation where he's been all season. Noticed that Dcunha led on the final lap, and he won the race. It's hard to make passes, especially after the corkscrew. What does he have to do different if he's second place again for race 2?
I think he needs to capitalize just a little bit sooner in the race. I mean, he was leading the race at one point very early in that race number 1, but I think he let it go a little bit too easily, let it go a little bit too soon in that race, and he needs to be a little more aggressive a little sooner. I'm looking. I say that he came from 5th to finish that second place. Chris Henn came from 7th to finish 3rd. So there are certainly a couple of drivers whose racecraft rewarded them that round. Unfortunately, Nathan Saxon is not one of them. Went from 2nd to 4th. So this is a driver who, yeah, he's got a lot of slack in the season. He's the championship leader and needs to make smart choices, but was not rewarded with conservative driving in that first race.
Yeah, maybe some slack he's got coming into the season, or in the season points tonight, but next week there's none. Again, 2 weeks from now rather, we reset the points again. So Nathan Saxon is going to be in position, the position that he finishes tonight in the points. However, the gap is going to be reset to a known number. It's not going to be wherever he comes out of the night. So he can eat up this lead tonight, and he can have a mistake. And as long as he comes out of this still leading the points, he'll be leading by a set number at COTA anyway. So you can look at it like that as sort of a non-renewable resource tonight for Saxon to use. I do think, though, that he got outraced in race 1 tonight, and I don't think he wants to get outraced again.
He did, but I completely agree with you that that's a championship mentality. And again, I've said it before in other broadcasts, I'm the first one to give up a win to make sure I win the championship. And that's a mentality you have to have if you want to win things like what we're doing here. So winning a sprint race is one thing, but winning a championship is another, and you got to be smart enough to realize when you can lose the battle and win the war.
Yeah, it seems like there's two different kinds of racing drivers, right? You're one of the drivers that will gladly give up a win to win a championship later down the line. There's other drivers that it's all the red mist. They want to win now every single time and hate to lose. If you're a fan of NASCAR, Kyle Busch comes to mind as one of those drivers. He doesn't care what happens later. He just wants to win now. But I think in a championship like this, you have to be more strategic about where you place your car.
Yeah, just a bit. And I think also the stakes on the line are probably ever present in these top drivers' minds, especially when you look at those top two rows. Nick Del Campo, Brandon Hawken, Chris Henn, Nathan Saxon, especially the drivers with the black liveried cars. They've been trying for years now to win the opportunity to come out to a SPEC MX-5 test or race weekend and prove themselves in a real car, because you know they've got the chops, but they just need the opportunity. And if you have a little bit of, I don't know, security in your ego to make sure that you can put yourself in a position to win that, whether it means losing this race or not, props to you.
I'd like some ego security. That sounds nice. Nick Del Campo and Brendan Hawkins sharing that front row. It'll be Chris Henn and Nathan Saxon on row number 2, Tom.
And then it is in the, sorry, let me sort here. In the third row, Riley Thompson in one of his best finishes of the season alongside Chris Taylor. Jordan Bachmeyer will start in the 7th spot. Jack Sanchez 8th.
In 9th place, Thomas Bresci, the number 24. Mark Palunin starts 10th, the number 38. Then Ken Seal, last year's champion, starts 11th, the 94. Kusama Brigado starts 12th.
Boy, will that be fun to watch. Then Steve Ficacci, 13th. Matthew Cridland in 14th. Craig Profeta in the 15th spot. A good salvage there. Brian Sohn in 16th.
George Fike, Brian Chabowski share row number 9. And Alex Jensen, Max Bauman in row number 10.
Then it's Scott McIntyre, 21st. Renault Roland Hubert recovers from a penalty in race number 1 for 22nd spot. Elijah Croft in 23rd.
24th, Scott Angelo, but he will not take the grid. Then behind him, Mitchell Peak, Carter Kundinger, Ismael Basso, and Luke Pfeiffer. Rounding out to the rest of the field, no Ryan Maloney. He will take this as a drop round, heading into the last round of the season at COTA in 2 weeks.
Interesting to note, in race control, Mark Palunin and Matthew Cridland will both start from the end of the grid, so a couple drivers getting shuffled forward there, but I don't think anybody in the top 10 really affected by that.
So pace lap here on the warm-up. Have one last look at our weather before we take the green, and this time it's a little warmer, 69 degrees, air temp, track temp though 87. So is a 10-degree temperature bump, is that enough to consider?
It is. I think, you know, the track temperature here in iRacing is pretty finicky, to be honest, and when you shift over to 90 versus 80 degrees where it was in race number 1, as you see just there in real time, it's gone up to 88. So things getting hotter here at an already slippery racetrack.
It's a rising temperature for a rising intensity level here in SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge. Again, for those that have just joined us, you're watching the 2021 SPEC MX-5 Sim Racing Challenge here in iRacing. A online competition between some of the best sim racers in the country. The driver that wins the championship will get to go on to test one of these cars in the real world. And if they've got a racing license, they can race the car in the real world. DJ Alessandrini was the first driver to win. He raced it at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta back in 2020. That was an exciting time for him. And these drivers all competing for that same opportunity. And all these drivers from all sorts of different places in North America. And this is the second to last round of the season, and this is the last race of the night. Del Campo and Hawken side by side as they head towards the start-finish line, and green flag in the air, racing again from WeatherTech Raceway, Laguna Seca. Look at the 16 car moving over to the inside. He wants a spot up front. Here he comes, the second, looks for the lead. Del Campo slams the door.
Well, he wasn't going to let the same thing happen again. He got freight trained at the start of race number 1. He is now the freight train up the inside for race number 2. Hawken around the outside. Del Campo keeps the point, but whoa, that was so close between Saxon and Hawken. These two banging doors, bouncing curbs, and now Chris Henn slots in between the two. Hawken keeps the point.
And he's got it. He slides back through. Very aggressive start by Saxon. The racecraft is coming out. All of a sudden, I think he feels like the world's on fire. He's got to move forward side by side for second place again. Going to run him out over the edge of the curb just slightly. Now Chris Henn and Riley Thompson, 4th and 5th. They got to get a place to go.
Man, the championship leader Saxon in the gray and purple. The number 16 car has the afterburners on. He has not looked this racy all season, I would say, and now is charging as much as he possibly can. But all of the bickering that they've been doing has given Nick Del Campo about a half a second lead. If he can extend that just a little bit more, he might be in a position for a breakaway at the front.
Feeling the pressure, that's for sure. Ismael Basso already off. He's had an issue. Let's go back and see. This was heading off into turn 4, I think. Oh, he got shoveled off by the 38. and again, just could not get the car to steer. I think sort of gave up on it about halfway through the gravel trap. A frustrating night for Ismael Basso. Del Campo, though, leads the way. Hawkins second, Saxon, then Hen, Thompson, Bachmeyer, Taylor, Bressi, Sanchez. Running out the rest of the top 10 here as we come on through. Some drivers off in the dirt. Thompson under attack from the outside. These two have been fighting all night long, and they're going to continue in race 2.
Chris Taylor is going to try to pick the one between the two of them. A big spin in the background, a couple cars in the wall, one car in the gravel trap. That is outside the top 10, so none of our major factors involved there, but it's tough to pick up who that might be.
Brian Shabelski was one of the drivers involved. Gustavo Purgado, the 11, I think that was the green car that was in it. Yes. There's a look at how it began. It's heading off into turn number 11. Car off, that's the 29 of Perfetta. Then Purgado, Brian Sohn tags him and turns him around, and then a couple cars get involved afterward, but Purgado was the driver off in the gravel. Max Baumann, George Fike in the 09. Ooh, that's a tight moment there. Oh, a bit of a scramble there. There's, who's that driving up the inside? That's the 06 Luke Pfeiffer on a recovery drive after starting this race at 28th.
And he was a driver that was running up to the top 5 for race number 1, ended up in the pit lane for some reason unknown to us here in the booth, but Pfeiffer is one of the fastest cars on the racetrack, so keep an eye on that number 06 to be charging forward. He's the black and teal car now, heavily pressuring the cars in front of him. We also have a really, really tight gap between the top 6, 7, 8 cars still. But this battle is for about 14th.
They got that sorted out. This one still has a long way to go, though. Chris Taylor in 6th, running well. Here's Riley Thompson getting around. Del Campo, slow down.
Del Campo got a slowdown in the hairpin, in the corkscrew, and will have to drop from the lead all the way back to, what is that, 10th? Now Ken Hausiel around the outside. This is a nightmare for the 15 car.
Yeah, here's a look. This is what happens if you cut this corner too much. If you go over track limits right there, that's a big cut, and you cannot cut the course and gain an advantage. So Del Campo's had to fall all the way down to 9th place. That's too far to come back to win this race.
And heartbreak for that car, but hey, Brandon Hawkins, Nathan Saxon, the top 2 in the championship, find themselves top 2 in this race. And that whole exchange has really prompted a big battle for about 5th on back. Jordan Bachmeyer, Chris Taylor, Bressis, Sanchez, Del Campo, Hausiel, Ficacci, and more, all in this big battle through turn 3. Mostly single file, but still working things out.
Ken Hausiel started this race in 11th. He hasn't really gone anywhere yet, but I don't think we're done seeing him just yet. He'll probably follow Del Campo back through the field if he moves up any spots at all. But out front, it's Hawkins, Saxon, and the top 3.
I think if you look at kind of the resume of, or the personality in the helmet of DJ Alessandrini and Ken Hausiel, the 2 previous championship winners, DJ would show up trying to win this race, and he would have a point to make. Ken Hausiel realizes he's not in this race, and he would do everything in his power to make sure that he doesn't ruin anybody else's season. And that's not to say one versus the other is correct or good, but Hausiel is certainly probably going to be a bit of a quieter force in this race. Really tight up into the corkscrew.
Yeah, Thomas Bressi through Chris Taylor. That was a heck of a move at the exit at turn number 6. Takes the run past the 53, who grabs a bit of dirt. Slide behind him as the 23 of Sanchez leaves himself available for assault from Hausiel, who's going to try to cross him over here. Hard to get runs here, though, especially when you can't track out wide like you could at place with more runoff. Well, that's a slide for the 70 car.
And look at how many black livery cars we have here in a row. These are all so experienced drivers, and I think that's the other reason why it's hard to get a run, is all these drivers know exactly how to drive these cars. If you look at the names down the top 10, it's a pretty heavy-hitting roster there, but up at the front, a couple of newbies up at the front. Brandon Hawkins with the white livery, Nathan Saxon still pressure on, then the experience of Chris Hen. You don't count him out.
I certainly wouldn't count him out. We call him the postman because he likes to lick the stamp and send it. He sent it in the past, and it's paid off for him. But lately this season, it has not. So I think he'd be likely to have an opportunity to win this race tonight. And if he gets the opportunity, he's probably going to go for it.
Penalties assessed for Mark Palloon, Brian Stone, and Carter Kundinger all so far in this race, so things have been a little bit messy throughout the field. But look at Saxon running a bit wide. Whoa, dips tires off the exit of turn number 5. You hear the tires protesting, screaming on both Chris Hen's car and Nathan Saxon. So far, Hawkins looks very under control of this one.
Yeah, when he's out front, he's pretty hard to beat, but we did see that at thought Del Campo was able to outrace him, and I think that's because Del Campo is aggressive. And we saw Saxon come out with the iron hot at the start of this race, but has since sort of collected himself, running second right now. But we know the 16's capabilities now. If he wants to get ragged, he certainly can. Right now, though, I think he's being a bit more reserved in planning a pass for later.
He certainly can. And what can Riley Thompson do? Look at him clinging on to the top 4 here in that number 58 car. It looks a little bit ragged coming out of turn 8, but not as ragged as the cars behind. Every single car into the dirt with all of those black liveried. It's Bresci on back, Del Campo, Taylor, Sanchez, Hausil, Vicacci, everybody with experience in this championship. Hausil has picked up 1 spot up into the top 10.
Looks like a bag of Skittles back there.
Yeah.
Thanks to Stephen Burbage of Night Fox Designs for designing and producing all of these liveries. Did a great job. They're very distinctive and they match the real world SPEC MX-5 Challenge liveries. Here's a pass up the inside for Del Campo on Bresci. That's for 6th. He's through.
Del Campo started on pole and was leading this race before a cut penalty dropped him back out of the top 10. He's worked his way into the top 10 all the way up to 7th. So this car is back on the charge, but now he's got that big chasm between himself and the next car on track, Jordan Bachmeyer. That's a bit of a problem for him because he's going to have a hard time shaking all those experienced drivers behind him.
Yeah, well, I said earlier that Nick Del Campo couldn't win the race from how far back he fell. I think he's trying his hardest to prove me wrong. Never say the driver can't do something. I know he can't hear me right now, but he's going to go back and say, I knew I was going to go up there and do it. Don't count me out just yet. Not over till it's over. That's for sure. Up front, still a lot of planning, but look who's joining the party. You mentioned Riley Thompson. He's starting to cling to the back of these guys in the draft. Not sure that he's got the racecraft to win this race, but he can certainly mix things up if the front 3 start to battle.
I was going to say the opposite. I don't know that he's got the raw pace to go up there and do much with the drivers in front of him, but he's absolutely proven that he has the racecraft to stick with the top half of this field, the top grouping of this field, and maybe if we get a little bit of bickering between Hawkins, Saxon, and Henn, Riley Thompson could be a bit of a spoiler here as everybody again throwing up the California sand through turn 10.
It'll be a dust storm here in Monterey, California before too long. This track is built in an old lake bed, and I think Laguna Seca, it means something in a different language that I don't know. I think it means dried lake bed, like literally in Spanish. You can look up that fact. Tom's going to Google right now to save my lack of knowledge, but through turn 1, it's getting tighter between these front 3 as we get about halfway through this race. Saxon jukes over to driver's left into turn 4. Dry Lagoon, thank you. I knew I was somewhere on base there.
That's poetic. Dry Lagoon, Laguna Seca Raceway. I had no idea, but you are correct. As high as it is in the mountains just off of the ocean, Laguna Seca, Dry Lagoon.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely dry now, that's for sure. Kind of dust bowl opportunity here with all the dust they're kicking up on the racetrack. Good battles happening deep in the field. Here's Ken Hausil popping out of line on Jack Sanchez. That's a tight overlap there on the quarter panel.
This is Ken Hausil's experience, just trying to rattle. I think Jack Sanchez, you look back on the number, he's listed as the number 94, but he's the number 70, Ken Hausil on the livery there. The black and red, he's just trying to fill the mirrors and has finally added maybe a bit enough pressure to Jack Sanchez. No, not quite. Doesn't get the run up to the corkscrew. You see how blind it is before the brakes. Kick to the right. And Hausil is very conservative on the brake to make sure he doesn't run over the 23.
I was chasing it a little bit through the second half of the corkscrew. When you nail that corner just right, it feels good, but sometimes you get it real wrong and it feels real awkward. Here comes Vicacci to the inside. Whoa, that's a muscle move right by.
I was going to say, speaking of getting it right, Vicacci just shoves his way through in the black and gray and picks up another spot, shuffles Hausil back out of the top 10.
Well, if eat or be eaten, I guess, in something like that. We hit 6 laps to go now, halfway through this race. Hawkins, Saxon, and Henn. When's go time? It feels like for Saxon it was lap 1, but now it's sort of in a lull. When does he go again?
Well, I cautiously say that it doesn't seem that Brandon Hawkins has much of a chink in the armor for this round, but we have seen in the past, I think it's Sonoma, when we were in this opposite position, Nathan Saxon was leading the race, and all of a sudden we didn't think Brandon Hawkins had anything for him. He lit the rocket and just went by. Whether or not Nathan Saxon has something in his back pocket that we don't know about is yet to be seen, but I so far think Brandon Hawkins looks pretty in control.
I'm interested looking at the lap times here. We've had some changes to iRacing's tire model lately, and have a look at the drop-off. His last lap of 1:39.8, that's over a second slower than his, or just about a second slower than his best lap of the race, which was earlier in the night. So we're seeing massive tire fall off here in pretty short races. So how much you're abusing those tires is going to be a factor tonight.
Yeah, big time. And we've already mentioned how low grip Laguna Seca is and how hot this track surface is. Whoa, Saxon lunges up the inside of the corkscrew. Hawken with a big pivot around the outside, tries to keep the car on the preferred driving line through the second half. The corkscrew does keep it there, pinches Saxon down to the inside, but they're still side by side through Rainy Curve.
Wow, that's an aggressive move by the 16, but now he's on driver's left, the wrong side of the racetrack for turn 10. They're going to still go through side by side, and he's got overlap still. He slips in the dirt, and here comes Chris Henn to the outside, but door to door into the braking zone. Saxon on the move. Well, he got it done. Took him 5 corners to do it, but that's what he needed to do in the last lap. But that's a hard pass to make.
That's such a hard pass to make, and that's that 180 feet we talked about in the keys to the race. All of a sudden, Saxon back to the front, Hawken behind, and you wonder how much teamwork was there in that exchange to make that happen as cleanly and seamlessly as it did.
Well, you see, the 99 wanted to go driver's left into turn 1, but the door got shut hard by Nathan Saxon going defensive. And look at Henn and Riley Thompson now coming into the fray, but Hawken looking left and looking right. But Saxon definitely mirror driving right now, trying to keep that 99 behind him.
He's got 5 laps to protect this one, and that's the kind of exchange Riley Thompson wanted. We've seen that he doesn't have the raw pace to keep up when they run single file, but as soon as they got to some battling, it became a 4-car battle up here at the front. The 58 joins them.
Whoa, he's going to go for
Hawkins
it.
Pushing the issue.
Oh, man. That was a message sent. I think Saxon moved over a little bit far maybe on him there, Tom. Message sent, maybe received, but Saxon goes defensive again. Remember, you get one move over to defend your position, but you can't do it in reaction to the following driver. But right now it's a hornet's nest for the first spot here.
Ooh, and that's bringing Jordan Bachmeyer back into things, as well as, believe it or not, Nick Del Campo has pinned himself to the back of this whole battle side by side for Riley Thompson up the inside. Chucks it, look, gets light coming into the corkscrew and will battle Chris Henn for 3rd place. He's got overlap coming into Rainy Curve again.
They're going to get re-cleared, but that 15 car is not out of it yet. We're coming to 4 laps to go. And by golly, he might have a chance to win this race if things keep going like this.
That would be a spectacular resurgence in the race. But so far, Nathan Saxon has actually pulled out a bit of a gap. Brandon Hawken has as well with that exchange between Chris Henn and Riley Thompson. Del Campo up the inside.
Oh, I think he's going to get this one on the 31. He's definitely quicker. I was going to say that Nathan Saxon isn't winning any favors with Brandon Hawken, but Hawken's Canadian and probably will apologize for being in his way. Down towards turn number 1. Look at the defensive line, sticking hard left. Hawken going to try to line him up, but again, this is a double apex corner. It's tricky to set up the exit here, but he's going to try.
Saxon almost overemphasizing how protective he's going to be for Brandon Hawken, and I have to wonder how much pressure is he feeling. We've already seen Brandon Hawken kind of get into the back of the number 16 car, I would say totally fairly, but they're certainly not pulling any punches even with 4 laps to go.
Steve Ficacci had an issue in turn number 11, I believe, last time by, so he's heading into the pit lane. Hawken right behind Saxon as we head down into turn 5. And I think that move on Saxon where he got into him, I think that was a message sent from Hawken to Saxon. I'm not going to back out. And he cut him a break that time, Tom. On the last lap, that ain't going to happen. He's going to keep that car in there, and Saxon's just going to turn himself off the nose if that happens again. So we'll see if Saxon tries the same thing again.
You actually heard Hawken grab 3rd gear for turn 5, which is typically where you would stay in 4th. So he is taking every risk he needs to try to cling onto the back. Del Campo with another attempt to pass on Bachmeyer. They are still side by side, actually losing ground between themselves and the top 4. Del Campo has got the preferred line through Rainy Curve, but we've seen this work for both drivers. Neither one willing to back out.
Lean on him just a little bit more, and that might do it, and he's through. Wow, that was an aggressive pass.
Lost a lot of ground to the top 4, though. Unfortunately, I think the 15 might be too little too late, although it's a valiant effort. If they start battling, though, in the top 4 again, I wouldn't count them out.
Get those elbows out. 3 laps to go this time through, and Hawken with another big run here on the front straightaway, but I don't think he can make a pass down here. This is a hard place to get it done. I think his best opportunity, he's been getting a great run out of turn 4 heading to turn 5, but we've seen how aggressive Saxon is willing to defend that. Oh, he's in a little bit hot here for turn 1. Is Chris Henn going to tuck it in? No, Henn's going to stay in behind. I like that call. You don't want to fight the guy who's second. You want to fight both of them when they're racing for the top spot.
Yeah, when you're in 3rd place, the guy in second is your teammate as far as you're concerned. It's all about the guy who's leading and taking him down. Right now, Nathan Saxon is not only leading the race, but he's leading the championship, so everybody's going to want to make sure that he is as far back as he possibly can. They'd love to see him back and forth for the 2 races tonight, but right now it's looking like he's got this one, again, under pretty good control. I know I said that 2 laps ago about Hawken, Then Saxon surprised us. Who knows what Hawkins got in his sleeve?
Well, we were criticizing Saxon earlier for the lack of aggression. Well, he's changed my opinion on that. He's probably swung pretty hard the other way now. As we climb up the hill towards the corkscrew, Hen with a run on the 99, but not actually going anywhere with it. I wonder if Hawkins going to trial how much of a run he can build in the last couple corners. I don't think you can wait this long. I think this field's too competitive. I think these guys are making too few mistakes to take this last sector as an opportunity to pass. I think you got to do it somewhere else.
Listen to that again, dropping to third gear right at the crest of the corkscrew before slamming it back into fourth. Brandon Hawkins is trying everything he has to make sure he clings onto the back of the number 16 of Nathan Saxon, but Saxon's still controlling the pace of this field pretty well.
Coming to 2 laps to go, a little bit wide there up onto the gravel. 2 more times around to win this second race of the night. Riley Thompson, and where's Nick Del Campo? He's half a second back from Riley Thompson, still in drafting range, but whoa, here they come. Hawkins with a run. He's going to go to driver's right. Where did he come from? I didn't know he was going to get the run all the way there.
He got such a clean exit of turn 11. He's going to go the wrong way around the high side for turn number 3.
Here he goes.
Tucks again underneath.
Oh.
He's doing absolutely everything he can to just rattle Nathan Saxon at this point.
I thought he was actually going to go for it there, but he tucked back in line, maybe to spook Saxon, but he's really tricky. He's not a spookable guy. So that might have been Hawkins' best opportunity. He's going to try to set up something maybe a little bit more definitive. Oh, 33's in hot. He's been aggressive on the brakes all night long.
Yeah, Chris Hen has a knack for going in too fast and still coming out every bit as fast as everybody else. I was watching that in the last race, and he's currently being pretty respectful as it is in third position, but I don't know that he's going to maintain that all the way to the end of the race, especially if Hawkins doesn't have a look at Saxon. I think Hen is going to try for second if he can.
In the brakes, oh, he's in it a little bit deep again. That's why we call him the postman there, Tom. Can get in there and send it so much deeper than everybody else. Good run for Hawkins here at the exit at turn 10. Oh, is it a slowdown for Saxon? It is!
Oh, man, that is what Del Campo had happen to him, and now that's our second race leader dropping back. Del Campo is going to maintain or pick up another position. Oh, not quite. He's going to try.
Yeah, for those that aren't aware, again, if you cut the course, iRacing will make you slow down to give up the time that you've gained. That's going to cost Nathan Saxon the win. Now Del Campo is going to fight him hard here. Remember, there's still points on the line tonight, and I'm sure Del Campo would love to put Saxon back to 5th.
That was very awkward between 4th, 5th, and 6th for Saxon, Del Campo, and Bachmeier, but white flag for Brandon Hawkins, who's probably can't believe what has just happened. He's inherited the lead from second place and will take the white flag as the first car on track.
That's the easiest pass he's going to make all night, but now Chris Hen is in position to win this thing. And we already mentioned how good he is on the brakes. Can he crack the Hawkins car at the top of the board here? Ooh. Downshift a little bit early there, really redlining that engine. That's caught him out here in the past. A couple seasons ago, he actually blew a motor here, downshifting too early. About 3 car lengths back. 2 car lengths, now 1.5 on the run down to turn 5. Look at him close there in the brakes. Cost him just a little bit on exit, but he still is a net gain after that. That's why he's so good there, Tom.
Yeah, exactly. He just somehow can send it in harder than anybody else and make it work on the exits. And the number 33 car, specifically tonight, as everybody runs wide at turn 6, is really masterfully picking his way up through this field. Question is, this is that 180 feet we talked about. Look at Hawkins protecting up the inside for the corkscrew.
Yeah, protecting, and maybe it didn't really cost him anything on exit either. Riley Thompson is in position here on the podium in that number 58. Down the hill through turn number 10, coming back to the checkered flag. Chris Hen is only feet away from passing Hawkins and getting a win this season. But he's got 1 corner left. Hawkins going to go defensive, is going to cost him on exit. Brakes early, conservatively into turn 11. Final corner, Hen's going to cross him up. Now the run back to the stripe. Here we go, checkered flag waving at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca and SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge. Hen looks to the left, Hawkins covers to the line. Hawkins wins it by half a car length.
Wow, I almost thought Hawkins was too protective of turn 11, but he made it work. And Riley Thompson comes home for a podium there in 3rd place. Nathan Saxon salvages a 4th. We joked that the field would love to see him have 2 4ths. We didn't think it would happen, but it did. And now our championship leader has not the greatest, not the most memorable Laguna Seca.
Just an all right night. for Nathan Saxon in the number 16. Wow, what a night. Let's have a look at our race results for race number 2 here tonight. We'll kick things off with our top runner, Hawken, again out of Canada. Winner by 94 thousandths of a second over Chris Henn. That's a great finish there. Thompson, Saxon, and Del Campo, the rest of the top 5.
That's a killer 2 rounds. I loved watching that. Jordan Bachmeier also made himself quite the nuisance in the 31 car. Comes home with a very strong 6th place. Thomas Bressie, Ken Hausiel does manage to get into the top 10 after starting very, very, very last. Luke Pfeiffer and Greg Profeta round out the top 10.
Have a look down the rest of the order here. Chris Taylor, 11th. He had to slip up a little bit later in the race. But down towards the bottom of the order, we saw a couple of drivers have some poor rounds. Brian Chmielski had some issues. Steve Ficacci, again, another issue in race number 2. And Ismael Basso, a crash earlier, takes him out. Issues for a handful of drivers tonight. This was a messy one in the mid to backpack tonight.
Yeah, in fact, 23rd through 26th there on your screen, all assessed penalties in that round. Ismael Basso, last place there with being shoved off track. Likely due to why one of those other drivers got their drive-through penalty. So unfortunate, they're still in the bottom half of the top 20, or 20, top 30, I guess I should say, but so entertaining at the front.
All right, let's talk to Riley Thompson, 3rd place in race number 2 of the night. Riley, a phenomenal round for you. Come home 3rd in race number 2. A good fight there. What'd you need to go up there and beat Chris Henn and Brandon Hawken?
Yeah, finally learned the car again. This whole season has kind of been a bit of a mess. Forgot how to downshift the car, but got really lucky with how I was positioned in this race, and I think that really played out.
Well, again, not running for the championship or in a position to win the championship this season, but we head into the final race here at Circuit of the Americas in 2 weeks' time. What are your goals and your plans for that final race? Is it just going for victories now or focusing on consistency?
Anything can happen, right? Getting 3rd and that close to after starting kind of far back, not really in race 1, but starting towards the back of the top 10. Hopefully I can go for wins next week and then go for more next season.
Well, a strong run, a podium for you tonight, Riley. Congratulations. We'll see you at the next one. Thanks for talking. Moving on now to Nathan Saxon in the number 16 car. Tonight, 4th in both races, Nathan. Not a spectacular night, but not a terrible one. You're still in position heading in Dakota to be the guy to beat. Your thoughts on tonight and heading Dakota in 2 weeks?
Well, in the way this is set up, Dakota is really the race that matters, so I'm gonna take this one as lightly as I can, and last couple of rounds I get all my bad luck out of the way and I'm ready to go for Coda.
It seemed like we saw a different driver behind the wheel this race versus race 1 of the night. So much more aggressive, throwing punches, getting the elbows out. Is that the kind of Nathan that we're going to see at Coda, or do you think consistency is the key heading into that last round of the season and making sure that you're just free and clear of everyone else?
Considering how close everything is in this series, it's going to be an all-out brawl. I kind of knew going in I had to either tie or beat Brandon in this round, and I was just trying to get him to fight with Chris there at the end and dip the wheel, but I mean, I think we're going to have some great times at Coda.
All right, well, a strong run. 4th and 4th for Nathan Saxon tonight. We'll see you at Coda in 2 weeks. Thanks, Nathan.
Thanks, Al.
Move on now to Nathan. Nope, we just talked to Nathan Saxon. Nick Del Campo is who I want to talk to next. Finished 5th in race number 2 after having a strong start. The slowdown got you, Nick, but race 1, all yours. Winner in the first race. You head into Coda in a pretty good position. Your thoughts on tonight, and how comfortable do you feel about your championship chances at Coda?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, super confident. I'm kind of joking around. I mean, I see these press releases and everybody kind of doesn't even mention my name for this championship, and it's kind of like I'm a little disappointed. I've won 5 times. Like, think of me. I know I got this in me. But no, seriously, I think we got a shot. I really do. You know, judging by how I drove in race 1, and race 2 should have been the same, and just got a course let down, but didn't let it ruin my night. Still got a 5th, and just kind of rallied back, took what it gave me. And I think we should still be 3rd. I don't know if you have points in front of you, but third, is that correct? Right, likely we should be 3rd.
Don't know just yet, Nick, but we will know in time. You're going to be in a pretty good position, I know that. And being the dark horse in Dakota, maybe that's a good thing, Nick, for no one to be mentioning you. I think you're going to be in a position to kind of snipe it away in the last couple moments.
Absolutely, you know, nothing to lose. I raced really tonight. Didn't really let the pressure or anything get to me. Just another race. It was A lot of fun, man. This track's a blast. I didn't really have a good round here last year, so it was a lot of fun to race with Brandon. You know, nothing but respect for him and Nathan. But Brandon, man, we had an awesome fight. I'm definitely looking forward to COTA. You know, again, thanks to the partners who put this on. I'm so humbled to be here, Kyle. This is so much fun. Regardless of what happens, I had a blast, and I'm looking forward to next year. Regardless of how COTA goes, obviously if we win, we can't race next year. But I'm looking forward. This league's a lot of fun. Truly grateful, and I appreciate it. Appreciate everything everyone does.
All right, thanks, Nick. First and a fifth tonight. We'll see you in 2 weeks for COTA. Good luck.
Thank you.
Talk to Chris Henn now, who didn't get a chance to talk to last time, but tonight a third and a second. Really strong runs for you, Chris. Take me through your evening. It seemed like you had a lot of fun, and that last race you had an opportunity to win.
Yeah, hey guys, it's great to be back. It's just a lot of fun racing with these guys. It's been a great season, and yeah, that second race, I just I thought I can catch Brandon at the end. I did get a run on him that last corner, but I just didn't have enough to get him at the end.
Heading into COTA in a couple weeks. Championship probably not on the horizon. You're not going to be too far out of it, though. So what are your goals heading into COTA? Is it to try to sneak away that championship with a little bit of luck and some help? Or is it going out there and just trying to be decisive about getting a few more wins on the year?
Well, as we know now, I'm going to need a little luck where I'm sitting in the standings. So I'm just going to try and just, like you said, play it safe and hope for some good luck.
All right, Chris. Hey, congratulations. Third and second. We'll see you at COTA in 2 weeks. Good luck.
Thanks, Kyle.
Brandon Hawken, race winner in race number 2 of the night. His finishes second and a first. Brandon, a phenomenal points round for you tonight. You got to be thrilled about that heading into COTA in 2 weeks. Man, you're looking really, really solid.
Hey Kyle, yeah, thanks, man. That was another eventful night, man. That was some great racing, and yeah, if it's anything or like any indication of what we're gonna see at COTA, it's gonna be pretty nuts. So, man, that was just like great night of racing there with Chris, Nathan, Nick. Man, that was just a ton of fun, and like a lot of respect between everybody, and yeah, it was just a really good time.
Well, it seemed like there was one point racing for the top spot with the 16 Nathan Saxon. He kind of came over to defend. You had the nose in there, and there was a little bit of contact. Take me through, if that happens at COTA in turn 19, do you back out or do you keep your foot in it next time?
I might have to keep my foot in it, because like I don't know. I didn't want to cause anything between us going into that corner, so I backed out there. Like I feel like that there was enough room, but yeah, I just didn't want to cause any incidents. So, but yeah, at COTA, like if it comes down to it, yeah, I don't think anybody's gonna give an inch. So yeah, we're it's gonna be pretty hectic, and hopefully it doesn't come down to any judgment calls or like hopefully we just have a really good clean race, and yeah, cap off the season with a really good battle between everybody. So yeah, that was like I would have done the same thing. So yeah, it was just really good hard racing, and yeah, man, that was just a lot of fun.
Brandon Hawken, second and first. We'll see you at COTA. Brandon, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Tom, wild night here at WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. Always puts on a good show. This series always puts on a good show. Nice, clean racing there at the top of the order. Throughout, there was a couple issues down the order that had a little bit of unfortunate endings for a couple of drivers. But all in all, positive round. We head to COTA. One more round, 2 more races for the 2021 SPEC MX-5 SimRacing Challenge.
Maybe even better racing than I expected. It was a blast to watch tonight. It was thrilling to be back, really, for the SPEC MX-5 Challenge here. And I can't wait to see who comes out on top to get the opportunity to translate this into real world.
One more round in 2 weeks' time. We'll see you there at Circuit of the Americas in the virtual Austin, Texas, here in iRacing. Kyle Heyer and Tom O'Gorman with you. We'll see you next time here on Winding Road Magazine.